If you're just joining us, we're still on Frontline here from the studios of New Frontiers Television, and you're welcome to today's show. On our interview segments, we will be taking a look at responsible use of antibiotics. The misuse of antibiotics is a major public health concern issue, and of course, that is why a whole week that is from November 18th to 24, has been dedicated as the World Antimicrobial Awareness Week. And antimicrobial resistance means that when bacteria, viruses, fungi, parasites no longer respond to medicines designed to kill them, making infections harder to treat. To have this discussion with us in the studio is Professor Akinlabi Oladele Ogunleye, a professor in veterinary microbiology and consultant veterinarian, veterinary microbiologist, who will, of course, be helping us understand why we should be responsible in the use of antibiotics, and, of course, helping us break down all of these issues for it to further educate us on the importance of using prescribed medications alone. Thank you for joining us, Professor.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here this morning.
Yes, to begin with, can you just tell us what all of this means, the antimicrobial resistance, what it means in simple terms, and why it is a matter of major public health issue?
Thank you very much. Once again, I'm glad to be here this morning and to discuss this all-important topic, even with our audience this morning, particularly as the major stakeholder in health matters in the world, like WHO, United Nations for Environmental Program, Food and Greek Organization, and the animal counterpart, World Organization for Animal Health, as they collaborate to enlighten the public on the importance of prudent and judicious use of antibiotics, going by its importance in this week 18 to 24. To start with, what are antimicrobial? Antimicrobial are substances that were derived either from microorganisms, plants. Some of them are synthetic, some are semi-synthetic. And their importance is that they have the capability to kill or to inhibit living microorganisms, particularly those of them that causes infection at some particular divine concentration. And you ask for the meaning of resistance. Now, resistance sets in when these otherwise antibiotics or antimicrobial that have been known to be able to kill or to inhibit certain infectious agents no longer have the ability to kill or to inhibit the microorganism. Thus, the effect of the infection will not be mitigated. So when we talk about antibiotic resistance, we are saying that this particular agent that we know that has been so effective in controlling, either killing or inhibiting this causative agent of infection is no longer effective. And there are a number of factors that can contribute to that. So essentially, it is so important. You ask whether it's important. It's very important because the introduction of this antimicrobial agents into treatment of infectious agent was one of the major breakthroughs that we have in terms of treatment and in terms of controlling diseases. As far back as several years ago when penicillin was discovered by Alexander Fleming. Ever before then, when somebody has pneumonia, it's like a death sentence. But with the advent and the discovery of these antibiotics or antimicrobial agent, you have the opportunity of controlling, treating, and then something that either to have been causing death, you have a way of mitigating it. But the problem comes in when these agents are no longer effective. It means that we are gradually going back to square A. We are going back to the problem of not being able to curtail the effect, and that can even lead to several consequences, including death. So, to that extent, the whole world, the matter of antibiotic resistance, the matter of the prudent use of antibiotics becomes a matter of global interest. So, it's a matter of public health importance, and it's a matter that we approach with the concept of One Health, which includes collaboration of every stake. It's a collaborative effort. It is transdisciplinary. It is transsectoral, multisectoral. And the approach is always applied both at the local level, regional level, international level. Global level, with the goal of having an optimal outcome in terms of optimal outcome in terms of what you are trying to achieve, in terms of treatment, in terms of health intervention, based on your understanding of the interrelatedness of the environment, animal, and their plants, so that at the end of the day, you harness the resources from different disciplines, and then you achieve your goal.
Okay, thank you very much for that, sir. Now, let's look at what are the main causes of antimicrobial resistance, and how do human activities, including the misuse of antibiotics, contribute to it?
Thank you very much. Now, that's a very important question here. I like to state categorically that from our understanding of microorganisms, now, the matter of antibiotic resistance is a natural process with them.
Okay.
Now, but there is a way by which human factor can contribute to this. For example, I will highlight a few things that can cause this. One of it has to do with lack of disease prevention and control. Now, if you want to avoid drug resistance, one of the things we need to do from the onset is to make sure that we take care of everything that can cause disease in the first instance. In terms of, for example, for animal, for human, we take care of biosecurity, we take care of vaccination. Now, one other thing that is very important that can contribute to antibiotic resistance, if not taken care of, has to do with improper diagnosis.
Okay.
Now, an average human being, most of the people listening to me now, they don't seem to understand the value of proper disease diagnosis. Because it is when you diagnose a disease or condition appropriately that you will have the knowledge it takes to treat them correctly. It's a common thing when somebody in the neighborhood hears that maybe the child of the neighbor maybe is running temperature. The next thing he wants to tell him is that, look, when it happened to my daughter or my son last week, this is the drug he took. Meanwhile, fever is just a symptom. There is something responsible for that fever. So when you don't do your diligence to find out what is the cause of that fever, you are likely going to treat in an appropriate way. And when you are treating in an appropriate way, you are indirectly contributing to the matter of drug resistance. So I am emphasizing the importance of proper diagnosis and correct recommendation of appropriate treatment. And that now takes me to the matter of antibiotics itself. Now, if we fail in diagnosing the disease correctly, we will fail in prescribing correct antimicrobial agent. And if you use antimicrobial agent in an appropriate way, that is contrary to antibiotic stewardship, and that can lead to the problem of antibiotic resistance. For example, it's a common thing in the community. Whenever anybody, in fact, I hear that a lot. Once anybody is sick, they will say he had typhoid fever. I don't know whether you have heard about that. And the next thing you hear is that, look, during the time that that happened to me, I just used yellow and black. And what that person is looking for is that particular drug. Yeah. Now, and the problem with that is that when you use an antibiotics that you are not supposed to use to tackle an infection, it can help. You know, I told you that it's a natural process.
Yes.
It can trigger something. That's not my focus now. It can trigger some things in those microorganisms that will make them to develop resistance onto it. The other side to it is that when you are using antibiotics or antimicrobial agent, they must be used judiciously and prudently. And by that judicious and prudent usage, we mean that, first of all, you must see to it that you are using the correct antimicrobial agent.
Okay.
You are not using A when you are supposed to use C. Not only that, you are using it at the correct dose and dosage. And that's one of the problems with our generation. I'm sure many people listening to me this morning must have been victim of this. If they want to be true to themselves, you go to the hospital and let's say that you even got a correct diagnosis and the correct antibiotics is prescribed, and they told you use 12 hourly. Sometimes they will say use one daily. Those information, those instructions, they have scientific basis. And unless you adhere to them strictly, you may be contributing to the problem of antibiotic resistance. For example, it's a matter if they give you an antibiotic, they say you should use it 12 hourly. From research and from the understanding of the pharmacokinesis and pharmacodynamics of that drug, which the person prescribing to you understands so well, they know that it's a matter of building up the concentration of that antibiotic in your system to be able to effectively deal with the agent that they want to tackle. Now, if for any reason you now say that, look, you took law into your hand, you don't follow that timing, you are not using that antibiotic judiciously. You are not using it prudently, and you are not observing antibiotic stewardship. Not only that, what are about even the withdrawal period? Let me go to animal now, for example. Sometimes, you know, by the understanding we have about some antibiotics, it takes some time for them to clear from the system. For example, we have something we call withdrawal period. Okay. Now, if you treat an animal, for example, with an antibiotics, there is a period of time that you are not supposed to eat maybe the milk that is produced from that animal or the meat from it because of the possibility of antibiotic residue in the food and the food product. Now, a number of people, they don't observe that. And as you consume that, they have their own consequences. So a whole lot of things can be responsible for this, and most of this has to do with human factor. And that is the whole essence of this antimicrobial awareness week, to educate, to advocate, and to cause us to act, because the problem of antibiotic resistance is real and is here with us.
Okay, now as an expert, can you tell us how the antibiotics resistance has impacted the healthcare system in Nigeria.
Okay. Oh, it's a serious matter. I have been, by the grace of God, I've been involved with research along evolution of drug resistance using One Health approach. I will take it from global level and I will localize it because I believe so much in contextualizing things. For example, I think in if I'm not mistaken, 2019, yes, 2019, there was a scientific report that gave an alarming statistics of the number of deaths. I'm not talking of death of animal, I'm talking of death of human being from the problem of antimicrobial resistance to be 700,000 people died in 2019 due to the problem of antibiotic resistance. You say that is a small matter. That's not. When I tracked the record to 2021, the number of deaths was recorded to be 1.14 million people. They die as a result of antibiotic resistance. It's understandable. When you have infection and what's supposed to control it to cure it is no longer effective, then that person is prone to death. And it's been estimated that in 2050, the number of deaths due to antimicrobial resistant matter can rise as far as 20 million people per year. You will agree with me that that is not a small matter. And that is the reason why also every stakeholder in health sector around the world, they are not taking. In fact, WHO listed AMR matter as one of the 10 threats to the global health. So it's a serious matter. Now coming to Nigeria, as a person that have been involved with research work that has to do with antibiotic resistance, particularly in animal and in human, using One Health approach, I want to say that the time for us to take responsibility as a nation is now. Ranging from people from human, animal, environmental, health matter. Let me give you an insight. In the last 2 weeks in my lab, together with my resident doctors, we handle a case of 2 organisms. I don't want to bother you with that. One Escherichia coli and one Proteus species that were isolated from an unhealed wound from a horse.
Okay.
Now, our duty there is to diagnose what is responsible and to possibly do antibiotic sensitivity testing to be able to recommend what antibiotic to be used. Just like we have been observing over the years, these particular 2 organisms that I'm talking about, they were resistant to not less than 24 antibiotics, cutting across different group of antibiotics ranging from aminoglycoside to cephalosporin, fluoroquinolone, and the cephalosporin in their different generation. People in the field, they understand what I'm talking about. That is a serious matter. I just want to use that one alone to paint the picture. I have records. Since 2005, I've been involved with this kind of work in Nigeria. From poultry to companion animal, we encounter highly multi-drug resistant organism. And the danger there is this. Antibiotics, as well as microorganisms, they are shared between human, animal, and the environment. Can you imagine the implication of such an organism infecting human being? So it's trouble. I can say it categorically based on scientific finding and research work that we do, that we have a lot of drug-resistant issue in Nigeria, especially because of our indiscriminate and imprudent use of antibiotics in this country, both from animal sector as well as in human sector.
Now, I mean, there's no gainsaying that this is a matter of importance and should be treated as such. But in a country where there seems to really be no regulation as to the usage of drugs, the purchase of even antibiotics and all of that, how then will we be able to tackle this issue of antibiotic resistance?
Okay, thank you very much. And that's the whole essence of the focus of World Antimicrobial Awareness Week. It's about education, it's about advocacy, and it's about action. And this action, we have to start with individual, to the society, and to government. Now, the way about it, part of what I'm doing now is part of it. For everybody to be aware of the danger that is associated with antibiotic resistance, so that they take the matter of the stewardship that should be the attitude of everybody. They take it very seriously. And also for every stakeholder in terms like government to, there are some, I must tell you, there are some laws, there are some regulations, there are some policies that if enforced, they will help us in this fight against antimicrobial resistance. But we have to take our destiny in our hand, especially because of the importance, the public health importance, and the health implication that is associated with this. So, and all across the world, people are taking precautions. I use this to, for example, I am involved with a program now, a research work. It involves not less than 7 countries from sub-Saharan Africa, including Nigeria, Ghana, Sudan, Senegal, Ethiopia, and 2 other countries. We call that project ADAPT. Okay. And what that project is all about, I'm just using that as an example to illustrate the way steps to do this, because it's not one-man fight. It is a one health issue. So that's why I want to bring that one in at this point. Now, this particular project is a 5-year project, and it's targeted at building capacity towards antibiotic stewardship in sub-Saharan Africa, in which our country belongs. I am a co-investigator in that project. And one of the goals of that is to be able to do this education, advocacy, and to build up capacity in different areas where the matter of antibiotic stewardship will be effective. There are efforts going around, all around, like I just cited that as an example. And the other side to it now has to do with every individual. For example, now, let me go back to my illustration earlier on. As many of us that are listening to me now, that when they prescribe antibiotics to you in the time past, as soon as you get better, for example, they say you should use antibiotics for a week. Most people, when they use day 1, day 2, and day 3, once they see that they get better, what happens? They leave the rest. And that in itself will be contributing to the problem of antibiotic resistance, because it will help, it will stimulate the organism to develop resistance. I want to use the word like that. And by the time you want to use that antibiotic next time, you are creating problem. So it's going to be personal thing, government issue, as well as the community.
All right, thank you so much, Professor Ogunleye, for shedding light on this critical issue. We appreciate your insights on this matter.
Thank you so much.
Yes, it is, you've heard it all. Antibiotic resistance is a challenge that we all need to take seriously, and we hope that you viewers have learned how you can play your part in ensuring that you address this issue. Remember that the use of antibiotics should be responsible. I mean, you should be using antibiotics responsibly to save lives and protect the future of medicine in the world. That's much we'll be taking on our interview segments for today. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for sport updates with Adebola Adeleke.